Today on the Emmy Award-winning Spotlight, making music happen. Before the show even starts at the Fabulous Fox, there's someone behind the scenes tuning their huge organ. Plus, ever wonder what makes a concert actually sound good? It's not who you think. But first, a St. Louis icon got a stunning makeover. How it's been transforming the music itself.
Powell Symphony Hall, now the Jack C. Taylor Music Center, recently underwent a multi-year, multi-million-dollar expansion and renovation. Visitors now enter through an outdoor terrace area in the new Art Deco-inspired lobby and box office with a spiral staircase reminiscent of the one at the Guggenheim Museum. But the old joins with the new through a hallway to the familiar red, cream, and gold of the original part of the building. But that's just what the audience sees. The changes also enhance the experience of the musicians on stage.
St. Louis Powell Hall, Jack Taylor's Music Center, really ranks up there. Maybe for selfish reasons, because the instruments I play on really work well in this hall. I played in other halls where my drums don't sound as good there, just because of the way they're designed and the way this hall emphasizes bass in. It ranks within the top 5 or so. It's a total game changer.
Shannon Wood, principal timpanist for the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra, took us behind the scenes to show us some of the highlights.
You walk into the hall and through the Jack Taylor end, the addition, and there's a musician's lounge. We have our dressing rooms. Right there is a timpani room, percussion room. None of that we had before.
This is only the second major renovation the hall has undergone since it opened as a vaudeville theater in 1925, and the first since it became the permanent home of the St. Louis Symphony Orchestra in 1968. This time, however, many of the changes were made with the musicians and their instruments front of mind.
This is where we keep the drums. We've got them labeled here so the crew knows where to put the different drums back.
The timpani room, the percussion room are the real big game changers for us because there was really no space for that before. Like on the side of the stage, there was an 8x8 room where the timpani were just kind of stuffed. It was also an overflow room for chairs and music stands. The percussion just had a case sitting off stage where they put their stuff in. Now you'll see we have 600 square feet of percussion. The timpani room's 300 square feet. Get all our equipment there. It's just really amazing.
It's also easier for the musicians to get the scores for the pieces they're going to play in the new, updated library.
They have loads and loads of archival scores, parts. Even if it's something we're not doing, if we need it as a reference for something we might be doing as a side project, it's there. It's kind of like a public library, but it's a library of all music that the orchestra owns, all the scores and charts that have been donated. We had a library before, but it was more challenging to get to. Now it's right there, very accessible. Yesterday I needed a part, and they pull it up on a PDF, it gets printed, and it's done in a snap. You need a score for study, it's right there. It's just everything's more at your fingertips.
And when they're not on stage, there's a new space for the musicians to relax and connect with one another.
Yeah, there was a musician's room. It was downstairs, and it was just kind of a hangout room, but still nothing like what we have now. What we have now is on the first level. It's right when you walk in. There's large windows with a lot of daylight, lots of seating for everybody. When you have that kind of place of solace, it makes the job more relaxing. You're able to connect with people in a different way because you have the space to do it. You get to know someone a little bit better or have a conversation that connects to the music you're playing.
And although the music is still the main attraction, the musicians say these updates elevate everything on and off stage to a whole new level.
Again, I've used the term before, but it's a game changer. It raises the bar of this organization because you have a great orchestra, a great city, great staff, senior staff, leadership, and now we have a great hall. And so it kind of completes the puzzle.
HEC Media has 6 YouTube channels, including science, history, art, authors, Black History, Achievement, and Culture, and all things St. Louis. Find your favorite, then scroll down to explore HEC Media's other partner channels, all on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Al Haker. I'm the organ curator here at the fabulous Fox, the mighty Wurlitzer. Over the years, I've got everything working pretty well, but not the first time. I mean, a lot of things have happened to make them work well. Because this stuff was all built in 1926. Most of it is air rushing through the pipes. So there's air created with a big blower like a fan. And then that goes through various pipes. You just press a key, and that key actuates little valves underneath the pipe and causes the air to go through the pipe and creates the sound. It's exactly like a piano. The only difference is there's a pipe organ is the keys are either on or off. With a piano, the amount of pressure that you put on a key will make it sound either soft or loud. If you bang on it, it's loud, it's soft, but pipe organs don't do that. You regulate the sound with big shutters that open and close, and that creates the volume control. So there's a brass reed inside here. And so when the air rushes across this, it causes this reed to vibrate. And so when you tune it, you're making the reed either shorter or longer, depending. If it's shorter, you're sharpening it. And if you make it longer, it's going to flatten it a little. There's also this thing on the top, you can do the same thing. This is more of a voicing thing. But anyway, that's usually how we tune it with the wire. But if you pull this back a little, it's going to sharpen it because there's the column of air that's coming out is going to stop here. And if you push it in, it's going to go up a little bit higher. And so that'll change the pitch as well. First of all, if you're tuning something really loud, you need headphones so your ears don't go away. And this is actually a tuning device. Right now it's going to play middle C. So that gives you a groundwork. So this side has the C is on that side, the C sharp is here. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. So I can either do it with the sound, or there's a strobe in here as well. And it changes the how this operates. So. Strobe is moving to the left, so it means it's a little flat, not too bad. So it was pretty close. The strobe was barely moving, so that was, on theater organs you can get by with that. On church organs it has to be right on the money. So that's how it works. Since this is all Wurlitzer, this was Wurlitzer's attempt, a 1920s technology to make this stuff work. It's an obsession. My wife tells me the same thing. She said, you can't stop doing this. I don't know, it's the satisfaction of hearing the thing play by a really good organist. And I'm sitting back there almost, with a lump in my throat because it sounds so good. So that's the best thing.
boss books the band, the marketing people figure out how to sell it, and my job is to put all those pieces together so when an audience member walks in the room to see their favorite band, they have the best experience that they can have without any understanding or concern about what it takes to put all that together. The reality of most of it is you've got to have the technical skills on all the equipment. That's kind of a given. The real skill is the diplomacy on everything from talking to my own crew, talking to the artist. A majority of the time I end up mixing the band, which means the band is on stage, everybody sees microphones on everything. My job is to balance all that sound. The band makes the sound they make on the stage. My job is to balance all that into the venue so you can have the experience that you expect to have. As the sound guy, as an audio engineer, I have to understand balance. I have to understand the physics of the room. So my job is to make that balance fit the room the way you would expect to hear it on a record or if you're sitting home watching it on TV. You have to understand how different voices react, male voices, female voices. You have to understand the tonal range of each instrument so that, say they're like, all the instruments are like this at first. My job is to make it go like that and become one unit. So it's not, you don't hear 6 instruments, you hear one song. All the microphones connect to the back of my console, and then they all translate to my faders, so I've got control. So, say this is my voice and these are my drums, and so I use all this to set up what the balance is going to be. These are my faders. Some of them were wired a little weird. So up is loud, down is off. But then I also have complete control over equalization, which is the tone. So I can change, say you've got an instrument that pretty much sounds great, but there's one tonality that's not quite right. I can adjust that. So that's the manipulation part. So if your voice needs to be louder than the band, I can turn you up. If it needs a little bit more clarity, I can add a little bit more high frequencies to it.
For helping us come through.
The sound guy can't make a bad band sound much better, but you can definitely screw up a great band by doing it wrong. Our job is to serve you to the best of our ability without you knowing that we ever had a fingerprint on any of it. So if we do our job right, nobody knows we exist.
HEC Media, recognized, celebrated, honored time and again for excellence in the industry. Find all of the award-winning content at hecmedia.org.
Please welcome to the Jazz St. Louis stage, Tim Warfield Organ Group featuring Terell, Stafford.
Only the privileged few can call a stage their office. Jazz trumpeter Terell Stafford and tenor saxophonist Tim Warfield are in St. Louis for a live performance.
For me, it's the pinnacle of everything. When that ball goes up or that tempo is counted off, I feel flurry, and that flurry gets, my adrenaline gets pumped up. I feel all this energy come through me. Well, I still get nervous, and I'm proud to get nervous because for me, being nervous means I care.
Considered among the best in their field, Stafford and Warfield have literally grown up together in the jazz business. Their chemistry is evident when they play. And their collaboration on stage produces a rich fabric that comprises the foundation of the jazz genre.
From the first song to the last song, there's a story that's been told, no different by many of the jazz masters. Our solos should tell us a lyrical story. They should have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And that makes complete idea.
And for every story told, there is an audience.
It's all about what I can share from my soul and spirit and pass along to someone in the audience.
But music is one of the oldest rituals of commune that we have. You want everybody to just have that sort of deep connection.
Mission accomplished with tonight's crowd at the Faring Jazz Bistro, a venue known for its patrons because of their knowledge and appreciation for jazz.
I love coming here, and I think it's directly related to the rich heritage, jazz heritage, that St. Louis has. There's a certain sort of pride and understanding that happens.
They come to this place for the music. They come for that sole purpose alone. And you can feel the joy, you can feel the intellect. That's what's amazing to me. Because you can feel that people know what they're listening to. It's just not entertainment. It's a celebration.
That's the essence of the creativity, is the interplay, the give and take between the artists themselves and the give and take between the artists and the audience. That's really what makes live jazz so exciting and so meaningful.
John Coltrane once said, "My music is the spiritual expression of what I am, my faith, my knowledge, my being." When you begin to see the possibilities of music, you desire to do something really good for people. I want to speak to their souls.
It's been a great run every night because of our audiences. Audiences are off the chain for jazz in St. Louis. So,
no matter how you feel, you play like it's your last time to play. Because these people don't have to come hear you. As my grandmother used to tell me, you're on this planet to heal. You've been given an instrument to heal souls.
If you're an artist, that you should have the intellect to be able to entertain people and play and create music that's challenging at the same time.
Another night is in the books. Another perk for this job is applause.
I think it's a beautiful thing because the ovation and the applause is thank you.
Mission accomplished. Because I came there for them.
And it gets to be very, very spiritual in a way to say, there's nothing more I can do but give thanks.
Next week, 2/3 of Alzheimer's cases are women, and researchers are finally uncovering why. Plus, what if scientists could see your brain working in real time? Thanks for watching Spotlight. Join us for a brand new episode on Thursdays.